Hi, everybody. It is the Monica Makes Money Happen podcast. We've been talking for so many years, fixing your homes, getting solutions in your communities, fixing your community centers. And now, well, it's always about finances. It's always about money. That's the underlying problem. And so what we want to do is we want to talk about solutions with moneymakers who are pretty much making change happen. So from celebrities to CEOs, I've gotten so many comments over the years that, wow, that was a quick interview. Can we have more? Or can we talk more? Can we do more? So I started my Facebook show, 300 shows later, the social media show. That wasn't enough. Now we're having more in-depth conversations with people who are really making it happen. Some of my favorite people, and I can't believe some of the people we get, to be quite honest, like, how do I get these? I don't know. A lot of you ask me, like, how do you get Dionne Warwick? How do you get big celebrities? And Spike Lee is next, you were telling me. And it's because of people like this. Mark Money Green. He's an agent to the stars, and he's going to start off our podcast, right, with his new book, The Show Must Go On. Now, this new book is so good and has so much stories, information, practical information. Because you know I love that. I love the story, and I love like maybe looking behind the curtain a little bit, right, Mark?
Yes, absolutely.
Into celebrity. I mean, even J-Lo is in here. So J-Lo, if you're watching, be afraid. No, I'm just kidding. He's such a nice guy. He would never do that. Prince, I love Prince. So if you want to know any of these stories, it is, and there's pictures too, which I love. I love when there's pictures. So for our first podcast, I'm bringing in, I want round of applause, Mark Money Green, yes. So tell me, I mean, what made you write a book like this and put it all on paper?
Well, you know, Monica, you know, it's just the stories. I would always post, you know, photos of people I work with and just tell a little story behind the photo. And before I knew it, everyone just called me and asked me, when are you going to do a book? When are you going to do a book? So finally, you know what? I said, you know what? I am going to do a book. I'm going to tell my stories, crazy and unheard of.
I love it. And I'm just going to, this is my, can you hear the sound? This is the applause for him. Applause, applause. I'm just going to use that.
Okay.
Every time you tell a good story, I'm going to do that applause.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of applause on this one. I mean, literally, you have worked with everybody. You are the agent to the stars. You've worked with Usher, Prince, Shaka Khan, DJ Jazzy Jeff, Will Smith. I mean, the names in this book are incredible. Just to start us off really quick, let's start controversially. Which one's your favorite? I know it's hard to pick a favorite. What's your favorite? Who's your favorite and why?
Oh, that's hard, Monica. You know, it's
I think you're going to have to say Melba Moore because she's a friend of the show. Salt and Pepper?
There's so many, you know, they're all my favorites because you know what? It's like asking a father who has 5 kids, which one is your favorite?
Isn't there one that you're like, wow, it was great.
You know, the thing about it though, in my book, I talk about 3 artists that are my favorites. And I talk about how our relationship had developed, not just from business, but becoming friends. And actually, I won't tell you who it is because you got to read the book.
You got to give us some stuff for the podcast, but I want to tell you something. Let's talk about you. I always like to start off the podcast with the story of you. So, I mean, you are from Hackensack, New Jersey, and you were a high school teacher, and you discovered Britney Spears' opening act in the classroom.
That's correct.
Tell me about that.
Well, you know, it was a time when I was out of work, and I started off as a substitute, and I actually got the job as the music teacher. And during one of my classes, this young lady always had a cassette player. She was always listening to music. I said, what are you listening to? So finally I listened to it. I said, oh, this is really great. So I went, I shopped it around till finally I got a record deal for her. And the group was called Divine. The first song was called Lately. It was a #1 pop song, and they became the opening act for Britney Spears' tour.
I want to play that song right now. I'm gonna Google stuff while you're talking.
Sure.
It's called Lately.
It's called Lately by the group Divine.
Lately by the group Divine. I'm sure it's online here. But as I'm doing this, can you tell me? I mean, do you know immediately if someone is a star? Like if someone's watching and wants to be a star in music, is it really you just know it?
Yes, I think, you know, you see it. There's certain characteristics that actually present itself, whether they're singing, the way that they perform, the way that they present themselves And you automatically can see that that person is a star. You know, they have star quality. All they need is some nurturing, some mentorship, something to kind of to get them going.
Yeah, because I know for me, and I'm sure with business, you figure out in 10 to 15 seconds if there's someone you want to work with. That gut feeling. I can't explain what that gut feeling. Someone asked me that. They go, "What is that gut feeling?" I go, "It's just a feeling that you know you want to work with that people." And then Reese Witherspoon said something really great on Instagram recently. She said there are 3 types of people. There's the people that you feel great, they lift you up, and they, you know, those people. Like I feel that with you. You're that kind of person. And then there are the people who just neutral, could care less about you. You know those people, right? And then there's the people who want to take you out, want to hurt you, because those exist too, right?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that a little bit, Mark, if we could. I mean, and then Reese Witherspoon said, avoid that. Right. Avoid those people. But what if you can't? If you're watching right now and you're like, I work with those people every single day. What's your advice? You worked in the music industry, which is notoriously nasty. So what's your advice for the everyday person?
Well, you know, it's funny. At the back of my book, I have my 10 street rules to the game.
I love it. We're going to put this up on my website.
And as you see, the number 1 is trust no one. Number 2, don't believe the hype. Keep your mouth shut. Number 3. Number 4, paper gangsters succeed.
Read everything.
Yes.
Read the.
And number 5, cream. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money.
Get the money, get the money, get the money. Okay.
It ain't where you from, it's where you at.
I love it. Okay.
Number 7, never underestimate another person's greed.
Yeah.
And then you go on to the last few.
Wait, for that one, in negotiations, get what you can while you can. People try to take everything you have.
That's right. That is my model, you know.
This is good stuff. This should be on our website. You know, I hate to say it. These are great. The top 10. I'm a top 10 person too.
Right.
But we're going to do 11, okay?
Sure.
Can we do 11 tips?
11.
You're going to add an 11. So don't take menial jobs for granted.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes we look at those jobs and say, oh, you know, why am I doing this? But later on, you don't realize that simple menial job will help enhance the job that you have.
You know what? It's interesting that you say that, because in the TV, but I'm just going to bring it to my own experience. So many times people are like, oh, that's not my job. And I've never been like that.
Right.
As you can see, I'm doing mostly everything except Joe helps me. But I just do everything myself, because I don't think anything's menial. I think everything's really important, from making the phone calls to booking the show.
Absolutely.
I do everything. And I want people to know that, because if you're trying to get people on the podcast, just reach out to me. You reached out to me and he had a bad experience. I didn't reach back. But I tend to look at my social media stuff. That's a good way to reach me. Right. But also like a friend of a friend. Sometimes I get a friend of a friend.
Of course.
I love that we have a window on the door here in our newsroom, and people keep looking like, what's Monica doing in there? That's because this is the first podcast and it's brand new. And I love starting something fresh and exciting, and we're hoping that we're going to get a lot of partners for it. Okay, so sorry for that sidetrack. There is no menial job is number 8.
There you go.
What's 9?
Number 9.
Keep family and friends separate. Oh,
good.
That is so golden. That's the golden rule. Now, easy to say, and a lot of people work with their loved ones. They think that's a good idea. I've never done that myself. I've never done that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have any friends in the business. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I don't do any friends. No, I don't have any friends. No. Their friends are outside of the broadcast studio. Thank you. Okay. And trust your gut and not your feelings. Woo. What does that mean?
Because, you know, sometimes, like you mentioned, you have it in your gut that person is, you know, this and that. But
I have a lot of gut feelings like that. Yeah.
You look at your feelings, and sometimes you just let your emotional feelings overcome what you really feel inside.
Are you taking new clients? I would love for you to be my agent. Okay. What's a number 11? I want a bonus, because you're on my podcast. So what's the bonus? I need a number 11 to put on our website, and then I'm going to post this. What do we do with the number 11?
Well,
can I add a number 11?
Sure, you can add a number 11.
Never, ever, 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 ever give up.
That's right. There you go.
Never give up. And you know who I got that from? Who did I get that from? Somebody fabulous that I just interviewed. Gosh, I've done so many great interviews. I don't know if that was Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon is like cut through the red tape. There's so much red tape. He's all about cutting through red tape. And then Carlos Nauden, the CEO of Ponce Bank, who I recently interviewed, he was saying that, it doesn't matter where you come from, just like you said, it doesn't matter where you come from. You can start with $5 to your name and become a billionaire is what his story is. I think he started with $200 and then he became, so just, it doesn't matter where you came from. Right. But mine is never, ever, ever give up. I think I stole that from Churchill, though.
But you know what's so funny?
Churchill said that.
I mentioned that in my book. That is in the first chapter of my book. Yes,
See?
It is.
Oh my gosh.
As you know, and I talk about
kindred spirits here.
Something that I enjoyed, which was football, and I ended up quitting. And I said, going forward, I will never give up. Never give up your dreams. Never give up what you really want.
Well, I love this. And, we're going to break this podcast into 3 sections. It's always the story. Again, we're hearing from this fantastic agent to the stars, Mark Money Green, who has a new book. And then we're going to, right after this break, we're going to talk about the stories. So this is the story section now that's coming up. And then after the story section, practical, again, we already did the practical advice kind of, but even more practical advice of how he actually did it. Because I want you to see the inside workings of a mind like Mark. And that's why we're going to have you on the show, because I want people at home to have access to you. I always think, why am I the only lucky person that gets to talk to you for 30 to 40 minutes? Why am I the only lucky person that gets to talk to like a Jamie Dimon, a Mark Money Green, CEOs, community champions? Why can't everybody? And this gives you the opportunity. So now we're going into the second half of our podcast, which is, after hopefully a commercial break.
Okay.
These stories.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going into the nitty gritty. Prince and J-Lo. Let's talk about Prince and J-Lo. This is I think page 38 in your book. We're always referencing your book.
Sure.
If you don't have it, it's called The Show Must Go On by Mark Money Green. You can get it on Barnes & Noble, Amazon. You can go to his website. What's your website?
MarkMoneyGreen.com.
He makes it so easy to find them. So tell me about that. On page 38, you talk a little bit about your ascension into ghetto superstardom. That's what you call it.
Yes.
What does that mean? What are you talking about?
Well, because, in the hood or in your neighborhood, we don't really affiliate ourselves with the stars, So when you get that type of accusation, or you get that type of feeling of knowing that you have come to terms with everybody, you just become ghetto famous.
And you don't need a business degree, right? But we do want college. We want everyone to go to college. You went to college because you thought, and again, I went to college too because my mom didn't have a high school education. Now she pushed that. You think that was key, right? That was key to success?
Yes, and my parents as well, they said, listen, I understand you want to do music, but you need to have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
Suppose your dreams don't come true, what are you going to do? And my dream was to become a music teacher if I couldn't become what I wanted to be.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
So you're always giving. You're a giving spirit, which I think is key. Because a lot of times in the music industry, that's not the case, right?
Right.
I mean, tell the truth. It's
yes,
a lot.
It's not.
Would you say 90% is not?
Maybe less, yeah.
98%? Wow, okay, the TV industry, I think we could both write books. I'm going to write one too myself. I actually have a meeting tonight between you and me.
Right.
Isn't that funny? I have a meeting tonight. Someone wants to write. But I, again, am like you, where I'm very cautious about because the stuff I know could burn some barns down, is that a saying? I don't know. But you too, and you're being very elegant, yet very informative, yet these stories are very juicy.
Yes.
But you're being very respectful. I think that's how I would do a book if I wrote one too. Tell me about your meetings with Prince. What can you say about Prince?
Well, I can't really say a lot because of the confidentiality.
But what was your
But I
interaction
think that,
with him?
working with Prince, Prince was just like, he was a visionary. He was just like, he was very smart and intelligent. Like, he didn't say much and he would listen a lot and you could just...
That's what they say geniuses.
Yeah.
Geniuses they're quiet.
Yeah.
And they listen first and then they talk.
But
I'm not like
he was ahead of the game, He knew what he wanted. He knew how to get it, and that was one thing that I respected about him.
Did you feel something when you were with him? Like, was there an aura around him?
Of course. I was like, I hate to say it, I was starstruck.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you're not starstruck very much because you know everybody. But that was one of the people you were starstruck.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Yeah. Was he funny? Was he funny?
You know, he was very
or serious?
Respectful. He was serious.
He was serious, right?
And you know, and it was funny because during the time I worked with him,
he was short, right? He was very short.
Yes, he was very short. But during the time I worked with him, he wasn't called Prince. He was the symbol.
The symbol. Right. Oh wow, my gosh! And do you have your own ideas of what may have happened toward the end there? I mean, controversially, everyone talks about it. What do you think happened?
I really don't know.
You don't know?
I have no idea.
There's so many conspiracy theories.
Yes.
We don't want to feed that, but people talk about it.
Sure.
J-Lo was there too. Now, I love J-Lo, so there's no talking bad about J-Lo on my podcast, okay? Because I love any Latina that gets to those levels. You know it's so hard, and people are always trying to break you down. I don't know why. Maybe it's because we look like this, or you know. Do you notice I'm trying to say that I look like J-Lo? In my mind, I am a J-Lo. I dance and and I sing, but I don't. Everybody wants to be like J-Lo.
Sure.
So can you tell me something positive about J-Lo?
I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about J-Lo. I met J-Lo, through Benny Medina. We were doing a show in Manhattan on 21st Street, a club called Tramps back in the day. And,
Tramps?
And they just happened to be outside. They wanted to see the show, and they reached out to me. At that time, J-Lo had just came out with her new single, so I knew who she was because of her single, but she was brand new to the game.
And she was beautiful,
yeah,
right?
Of course.
Always the J-Lo glow.
Yes.
Did you know she was going to be as big as she was?
I did. I sure didn't.
Yeah, because if you did, you would have signed her immediately,
yes,
right?
But now I want to find her. I let you in my show, J-Lo. Now I want to come to your show.
Exactly. And do you have any regrets, like anybody that you passed up on that you had no idea was going to be so big? I mean, you're pretty on target usually, but is there anyone that like slipped through the cracks? You're like, oh, I should have signed that one. One regret. Everyone has a regret.
There were a few because when I was on the road as a road manager, I would always run into people that want to give me their demos.
Oh.
So here's a quick story.
Okay.
We're in Houston. I was managing a group called SWV. And we're at the record store.
I love SWV. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Do you think I could get them on my show?
Of course you can.
This is just a ploy to get all these people on my show, okay?
So we're in Houston at the record store.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
And this guy kept coming up to me and said, hey, I have this tape. I want you to listen to my group, a female group.
We're here from Houston.
No, let me tell you a story. I said, okay, yeah, sure. He gave me the tape. I didn't listen to it. I gave it to somebody else. And this didn't happen until like a couple years later. And I said, wait a minute, this group is from Houston? I remember a guy telling me about this group. I went back, I looked at his business card, and guess who it was?
Who was it?
Matthew Knowles, and the group was Destiny's Child.
Did you just mention Beyonce?
Yes, I passed up on Beyonce. And that's because I didn't listen to the tape. And one more person too, I gotta tell you this one story. Another person, 1985, I was at.
What year was that? What year was that when you passed
That
upon
was
Beyonce?
1997.
I've got to keep track of this.
Or 96.
This is outrageous.
But 1985,
yes.
I was in Miami, and this guy was a
That's
promoter.
Where I grew up.
And he kept telling me he wanted to be a singer. And I was like, yeah, okay. I was with a rap group called the Boogie Boys. So finally, we went to his house, we had dinner. He gave me his tape, I never listened to it. And guess who that was?
Who?
Stevie B, the dancehall
So
king.
when I ask you if you have regrets, these are the,
these
you
are
didn't think you had any regrets. Well, you know what? It makes me feel better because I have regrets too, but it's not as bad as those. Those are, but you know what? That means that you were flying so high.
Yes.
See? And it's funny that they were all trying to get to you, Mark Money Green.
And I just,
Oh, let's not feel bad. Now I'm feeling bad for you with the Beyonce story. Oh my God, isn't that incredible?
That's incredible.
What a story, what a story.
Yes.
Okay, now I gotta go to your book again. Let's go back.
Sure.
This is becoming my book here. I'm loving it.
And all those stories are in the book.
It's in here?
Yes.
Okay, I don't remember that one. Okay, so page 90, you have a picture with a lot of executives, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you say, quote, I was the only black person at the company, but it never crossed my mind.
Right.
Because why?
We were selling black music. It was, I was there, and it's my first job out of college, and I didn't have a clue what was going on in the record business or how everything worked.
How did you survive? I mean, sometimes I figure, I'm like, gosh, as a blonde Hispanic girl that looks like this in the news business and helping people. And I think about how to, you don't think about it, right? You just do. You just do.
You just do.
Looking back, how did you survive? How did you make it in such a shark tank of a music business?
I just always try to stay ahead of the game, whether I'm reading or looking or finding out information. I always used to look back at the executives that were no longer there and try to figure out where were they? How come they're not here anymore?
So you learn from their mistakes, not
exactly.
your. Oh, that's smart.
Yes.
And I love that you're a reader, an avid reader. Me too. I'm a speed reader myself. My dad taught me how to speed read a long time ago. But that's a common denominator among rich guys. And I hate to say it, rich people. Okay, I would love to be rich myself, but you that kind of level of rich. What I'm starting to see is that you are avid readers. So take notes if you're watching. You want to start reading. How much do you read? You're always reading trade journals, probably. What are you reading? Like, what are you looking at? Social media? Like, what are you doing? It's
crazy, and I talk about this in the book. Every year in my life, I guess for the last 15, 16 years, I try to learn a new trade, get a new certificate. I learn something new once a year. So I've published a book.
What's this year?
This year was
the book.
The book. I've done everything from...
Every year you have something to look forward to that's fresh.
I seek different... Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
I love the yearly goals. I'm stealing as you're talking. I'm stealing, but it's good stealing, right?
Yes.
We want our young people to steal what you did. And I love that you said you were reading. Tell me about the book. This is a great story. You wanted to break into the music industry.
Right.
So what did you do? You went to the library?
I went to the library and I looked into books in the music industry, and I found this one book.
My God, Mark.
And that book had every job in the industry, and it described everything. And when I read that book, I was like, wow, I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And that was my Bible. I call that my Bible, my musical Bible.
Yeah, and see, so if someone's watching, it didn't take any money or assets to do that. It's all about information, seeking the information that it comes to. And you know what, I noticed that too. Sometimes I'm in my own way, sometimes, and I realize that people want to come in and help me, but I'm blocking them myself. You could be your own worst, person. So sometimes if you just go, I give up, and I'm just like, let me just go with the flow and go with what I'm supposed to be doing. And then that's when the magic happens. Like today I was so like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then what ended up happening is you came in, and then I had this wonderful social media show with Goya Cares. We love Goya Cares. And that you happen to have a connection to. It's always connected. And then I'm doing this incredible story this afternoon that just fell into because I was open. Again, I wasn't so close, like I got to do it my way. It's always my way or the highway. No, it's be open to what can happen. So let's talk about Will Smith.
Sure.
Okay, let's get to it, because our second half of our podcast is going to be juicy. So you have a picture with Will Smith in here, and his first contract. I can't believe it. Page 97 is his first contract.
Right.
Can you tell me about that? Did you know that he was going to be Will Smith? I mean, tell me the truth.
I didn't. And the funny thing is, I work with so many people, and I don't know what it was about him that made me save his contract and his business card.
Yeah,
and
saved it. Look at that. It's right in here.
Look how much he made on his first show.
How much did he make? How much did he make?
$1,200.
$1,200.
He got $600.
Oh, yeah. And then you said that was kind of the theme, and we hear that about the music industry, that a lot of times, like you have some of the other negotiations, you're very open about it toward the end here about the money. So how much was, you said $30,000 for a $30 million, what's going on here, Vanilla Ice?
Back in the day, with hip hop, the contracts were very, small. The average contract for a hip hop record deal was $40,000.
And they were literally making how much?
Millions.
$30 million.
I think MC Hammer was one of the first biggest contracts where he got a little over $1 million, but look at the money he generated for Capitol.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, and you were negotiating those contracts, or how were you?
No, I negotiated more of the contracts as an agent for the artists. But I happened to work in the record business during the time that we started signing a lot of hip hop artists.
So what's your major takeaway for someone who's negotiating? Because not everybody has an agent.
Right.
They have to be their own best agent.
Well,
cough, cough. So what would you say, what's your biggest, know your worth? Obviously, I'm always like, I need to know my worth. You go in there like you are worth $1 million. But then what else? What else should we be?
Well, my favorite saying is, you get what you negotiate and not what you deserve.
Say that again.
You get what you negotiate and not what you deserve.
So what does that mean? That means you have to go in and fight for it?
You have to go in and fight for it.
And say it, right?
Yes, and say what you want. Because, you know, people are not going to pay you what you actually worth. Right? You know that from business. The people don't pay you what you're actually worth, but you go in and you negotiate. You negotiate your fees.
Now, can you represent yourself? Because I know I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts, and so many different moguls and celebrities say they're their own best agent. But I mean, I know it's controversial to say the agent of the stars is here. So, but it helps to have someone fighting for you in your corner. Not always you doing everything yourself. I always feel like, you know, they say, oh, put the mask on yourself before you put the mask on your children, save yourself. But sometimes you're really good at doing things, but you're not good fighting for your own self. So what's your suggestion? What's the answer to that?
I mean, for me, it's having friends in the industry that do what you do. And sometimes, you know, you think you know everything, but sometimes I go and I get advice from them as well.
So don't be afraid to ask for some advice.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, but it's not always a friendly situation.
No, because in my book I talk about never underestimate another person's greed.
Ooh, yes. And we were talking about those 3 groups of people, the ones that love you and build you up, the ones that don't care, and the ones that'll take you down.
That's correct.
Grandmaster Flash, I just saw him at a JP Morgan event. Tell me about Grandmaster Flash.
Well, I've had the opportunity to manage Flash over couple of decades, and you know, we actually met in the early 80s when I was an intern at Sugar Hill Records, and he was making his first records there, and that's kind of how we first met.
It's amazing. Yeah, he's really amazing. So now to the end of the show. This is our 3rd part, and I always like to say it's the best part because it's the juice of what we just discussed. We go through all of that, your story, we know where you're from, we know the stories now, and we're going to get the book, The Show Must Go On.
Yes.
I can't say that enough. Incredible book and so juicy. Great information, too, about business. So practical, I want to be really practical about this. Usher, let's save Usher for the end here.
Okay.
Usher.
Yes.
Tell me about Usher.
Oh, my goodness.
Before we go into the nitty-gritty of the end.
You know, I have to say Usher was one of my favorite artists that I worked with.
You said you didn't have a favorite. So
I know, but I didn't want to.
You were his road manager for a while when he was just a little boy.
I had an opportunity working with him twice, when he first started, and then when he was on his way to stardom, you know, in 1997. So, you know, he was a joy to work with, you know. But as we get more into our craft, we become more demanding. So, you know, you have to work with these artists that demand certain things, and you respect them for what they demand.
So what are you saying? Usher had he seems like he was such a hard worker. You said he spent hours rehearsing, dancing in the mirror, doing sit-ups, push-ups, and even more. I mean, he seems like he seems like a workaholic a little bit here.
He knew what he wanted.
Obsessed.
He knew how he was going to get there. He was a star in the making.
So he started so young. When did you know him? You knew him when he was really
I think I was his second road manager when he first came out. And even then I could, you know, see the potential of him becoming a big star because he just had that determination and passion to
Oh my God, I love this story. It's about him going to the mall. He would want to go to the mall because he's a young guy. I want to go to the mall too. I love going to the mall. And people would run after him, and I guess, you know, J-Lo describes that moment where she's like, I'm not a normal person anymore. Like, my anonymity is thrown out. So did he not know that, or did he not know?
It was crazy because he wanted to go to the mall. I didn't realize how big he really was at that time.
Yeah.
We went to the mall. It was early in the morning, and
this was in Paris?
No, well, the mall was in Nashville, Tennessee, but we ended up going to Paris.
Okay.
But we were in the mall, and you know, by the time we got to the 3rd or 4th store, the crowd just started getting bigger and bigger. And I was like, you know what, Usher, we got to get out of here.
Did you ever feel scared, like they were going to get crushed? Yeah.
I mean, especially there, I was like, listen, whatever you do, don't run. Just, we're walking fast. I'm calling the car. And I talk about in the book, as we're walking to the car, a police officer came out of nowhere and grabbed him. But I won't tell you what happened.
Oh, you got to read the book.
You got to read the book.
I love that. You're very good at this. Very good at this. So I guess for the ending here, you know, you are now, let's talk about you now. You founded Celebrity Talent Agency,
Yes.
which is, you know, and again, we're talking about star potential. You're also the general manager of Lehman Center in the Bronx, the
Yes.
chair of the Hip Hop Museum
Sure.
Artist Relations Committee. So you still have your hand on so many different things. I guess what's the hope? Like, are you hoping that someone watching this, what do you want, what's the essence of what you want them to get from your book and from your life experience if they're just starting out?
I think, you know, again, it starts with passion, knowing what you want, and then finding the map to get there, you know. And I think in the book you will read all the challenges that I had that somewhat would stop me from getting to point A to point B, but I found ways around it.
Yeah.
So the book is, you know, resilience and understanding, you know, that no matter what you're doing, no matter all the circumstances that come about, your main goal is what? You must finish, and no matter what, the show must go on.
I love that. And you know, if someone's watching, they can reach out to you too, right? If
Yes.
you're a budding artist. I
Yes.
mean, hey, let's make the connection happen right here. How do they reach you? On social media?
They
or
can
what do
reach
they do?
me on social media, Celebrity
website,
Talent.
maybe?
Yep, Celebrity Talent.
Celebrity Talent. I
And-
think I follow you on Instagram.
Yes, on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or you could also leave a message on my website, markmoneygreen.com, when you purchase the book.
I love it. And, you know, it's all about educating and learning from your lived experience, because I feel like you're such a giving person. Like, I can
Yes.
feel your nature
Yes.
is so giving. We have so many mutual friends that are just like us. So I guess the top 10, obviously we gave them the top 10. Would you say the most important step, the first step, let's say if you feel like you're in a rut and you want to get what you have, which is money and a business, and start their own business, what do you want to tell them?
Again, I think you have to research, you have to find your passion, but just don't stop there. You know, read everything, look into everything there is about what you want to do.
Yeah.
Master it. Become a master of your faith. Become a master of
And there's like no overnight successes. I mean,
No.
there is a touch of like, I want to dispel that, because I think there is a touch of like greatness. You have these moments in your life that you're like, wow, that was great. Wow, that was great. You know, at least for me, that's how it's been, where you have people that you meet and they bring you to another level.
Sure.
But it's mostly every day, like you said, every day, not giving up and just keep going. And, you know, sometimes taking no as an opportunity. So, for example, if someone says no, then, you know, that doesn't mean no for you. That just means not now, or yes, but in a lower voice. You know, you just they don't know it yet.
Sure.
So you don't give up. And I think a lot of times, someone told me recently, this was so good, Mark, you're gonna love this, that people can kill your dream slowly, little by little. So be careful.
That's right.
Because you might take concessions here, there, and there, and there, and you might, and then eventually wake up and you're not doing what you were supposed to be destined for.
That's right.
And what made it so that you didn't give up? Because I know you got no
Of course.
15 times a day. I know I get no.
Yes.
So why are we sitting here in front of a camera with our own podcast? What's going on here? Like, what made us sit here today?
Monica, I think it's our passion. We love what we do, and we're doing what we love. And at the end of the day, that's what you really want. You know?
You can tell too.
Yes.
I think you can tell someone if they're on a mission and they're helping. And I think the universe, I hate to sound like Oprah now, because I got this from Oprah. The universe does conspire to help you once you have your mission. Your mission is, you're driven,
Sure.
and you have that. And I feel like this book is just dripping from destiny. Like, it just feels like there was a flow to your career.
Yes.
And you said you were a prayerful man.
Yes.
And I do believe there's a spiritual element to everything that we do.
You know, and I say that because in the beginning of my book, I starts off with me being paralyzed from my waist down. For 6 months, I couldn't walk, and they told me I would never walk again.
How old were you?
I was 11 years old.
11 years old. God bless you.
And it was through my faith and through, you know, that was allowed me to walk again. So
You were in a car accident?
I had just...
See, now he's finding out I didn't read the book.
No.
I skipped
You know what it was I had just got over
No, I'm just
the
kidding.
pneumonia. And one day I'm laying on the bed and I went to change the channel because we didn't have remotes back then. I got up and I fell flat on my face and I laid there crying and I had that feeling in my leg. Well, you know that feeling you get when it's numb and you keep hitting it and
it's the scariest thing in the world.
And nothing happened. So by the time my parents came home, my father rushed me to the hospital and I ended up staying in the hospital for like 3 months. I was in that contagious room with you had to wear a hazmat suit to come in my room.
You see that in the movies, yeah.
And eventually, after meeting with 7 specialists, they said, "Oh, we're sorry, he's never going to walk again." My mother, who was a woman of faith, she just told me to keep praying and asking God for healing, and that's what I did. Although I was young, and at that time it didn't really catch on, but I did what she told me, and I started to believe it. Once I started to believe it, that's when it happened. That's when my legs came back, and I started.
So your mom prayed over you.
Yes.
And you felt the Spirit enter, and then you were able to walk again?
I was able to walk again.
And that was at the age of...
Not only did I walk again, I became a track star. I broke many records in high school, and this is all in the first chapter.
Okay, so this is the lead now. I always say bury the lead of the story. This is the juice. Can you tell me more about that moment when you were in bed and somehow you were able to walk again?
It was a crazy feeling because I had pain all through. Even though I didn't have a feeling, I would have pain at the middle of the night. It felt like someone was taking a knife and cutting my legs, or it felt like I was laying on a bed of glass, and every time I turned, I felt the cuts.
My gosh.
Yeah, it was a crazy feeling. But when that feeling came back and it hit me with the percussion hammer, and I was able to feel it, I jumped for joy. I couldn't believe it, and that's when the part of the rehabilitation started, where they, put me in the pool and had me work for my bodies and everything.
When you said rehabilitation, I was thinking recalibrating. It was recalibrating your life. Mm-hmm. Like your whole mindset was changed, where you believed.
Oh yeah.
And you were a firm believer in miracles.
Yes.
And so then all of this amazing afterwards, like all your life is just an amazing story story.
Monica,
story.
At the end of the last chapters, he saw the best of me. I talk about, through all the things that you're going to read about in this book, all the crazy elements and things that I had to deal with. I still give thanks to God because at the end, he took me through all of this, and you're going to read stories. You're going to, oh my God, he should have been dead, And you're going to read these stories, and it was His saving grace that brought me through. So that's how the book ends.
Wow. And so this is, we got to get this. This is a must-have again. One more time, the show must go on. Yes. Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com. And then the website, give it one more time.
MarkMoneyGreen.com.
Or you can just, we'll link you there at pix11.com/Monica. We have a whole section there. Thanks to Goya and Goya Cares, and of course our other partners, JP Morgan Chase. We love Ponce Bank. We love all of you. But make sure to watch us every night. I always say I do television too, every night at 5:45 and 6:45. We're always doing community champions that are making it happen. And if you have a story, you know how to reach out to us at Monica Morales TV on all of our social media platforms. And you have a great Instagram. What's your Instagram?
Celebrity Talent Inc.
There you go. And are you taking on some new blondes?
Of course.
Hispanic blondes? Okay. But anyway, make sure to watch us every night. We're making it happen together. See you next time. Thanks for watching the podcast. Number one, numero uno.
Number one.
Number one. You're number one. You're number one. You're the number one guy now.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you for having me.